Hello, my name is Emma, and today I'm going to be telling you the story of my Shadowhunter journey. It's no secret to anyone who watches my channel that the Shadowhunter Chronicles is my favorite series of all time, and I've been a fan of these books for 7 years now. I've shared a lot of my journey of falling in love with these books and spreading my love for them on this channel, but I really wanted to sit down and just have a chatty video about how I discovered the Mortal Instruments, some significant events to me as I've been a fan of this series, and of course all the times that I've met Cassie. And if you are somebody who has not read the Shadowhunter Chronicles but still likes to watch my videos, or maybe you're just getting into them for the first time and you haven't read all of them yet, no need to worry, there are no spoilers in this video. It's entirely about my own experience reading these books and just having them be a part of my life. But the super special thing about this video is I have 2 absolutely amazing giveaways full of Shadowhunter books and goodies that are international, so if you live anywhere in the world, you can enter. I'm going to be sharing my story first, but if you want to hang out to the end to find out how you can enter and maybe how you can win some super exclusive Shadowhunter books, maybe some super exclusive artwork, and so much more than that. So I'm super freaking pumped about this giveaway and about this video, and I really hope you guys enjoy. So our story starts on a warm summer night on August 29th, 2013. My ex-boyfriend and I went to the movies a lot when we were dating, and so we were both just kind of looking to see what was currently out and in theaters that we could see. I was personally interested in a comedy film called We're the Millers that I thought my boyfriend would also enjoy, but he had come across a film called City of Bones that he was interested in because it featured demon hunters. I had never heard of the film before. I didn't even really know if it was going to be my thing, but I decided to give it a chance, and after watching, I nearly left the theater in tears. I was so captivated by this story of friendship and star-crossed lovers that took place in this magical setting in New York that I spent my entire night just looking up the cast and watching interviews from the movie, and I was just instantly hooked. And that night I discovered that the film was actually inspired by a book series called The Mortal Instruments. Now, for context, I have been a reader my entire life, but in high school I definitely fell away from it a little bit, and I was only rereading old favorites on occasion. I wasn't really the type to pick up new books, so it took me about a week or so to really say hey, I think I'm gonna try this new series that is inspired by this film I really liked. And on September 6th of 2013, I started City of Bones for the very first time. So I binged the whole series for the first time in probably just a couple of weeks. And as soon as I finished book 5, because I was waiting for book 6 to come out, I just went right back and I took out book 1 again, and I ended up reading them 4 times in a row. I did not want to be without it, so I literally read it uninterrupted for 3 months straight. My senior year of high school when this was happening was a bit of a rough time for me because most of my friends had graduated, so I was feeling really lonely and isolated from my classmates. So every day for my 2-hour lunch period, I would just take my library book and I would go to Dunkin' Donuts and sit and eat and read, and it was one of the highlights of that really dark year was just being able to find comfort in this story. While this resurgence in my love of reading was coming back to me with the Mortal Instruments, I was in an AP photo class, and we had an assignment where we had to create a photo where the title was From One World into Another. I felt this so perfectly captured what the whole City of Bones movie was about. This young girl who believes that she's just totally normal and finds out she's a part of this race of ancient demon hunters and has to immerse herself into this totally new world. So I decided to recreate a scene from the film where Clary wakes up and she just has all of these runes that she's apparently drawn in her sleep without remembering plastered all over her bedroom. So I made my own version of it, which I absolutely loved, and I just loved having these runes all over my room so much that I kept them up for several months after the photo. So sometime in November of that year, I was watching more cast interviews because I was all I did. I was just so obsessed with Jamie Campbell Bower and Lily Collins that one of the recommended videos on YouTube next to one of the interviews was titled TMI Pronunciation pronunciation problems. And it just was these two girls hanging in one of their bedrooms who clearly loved the Mortal Instruments as much as myself, and they just wanted to share how they said different things from the Mortal Instruments series. And in the recommendeds was another video that was the exact same premise from a channel called 1,000 Lies of Daisy, and she was just sharing how she said things like stele and parabatai. And that was really the first time I ever discovered our little community called BookTube. And from there, I discovered channels like Pullin' Bananas Books, Katie-tastic, A Book Utopia, and Peruse Project. And I just had no idea that there was an entire corner of the internet that wanted to discuss all the same books that I liked. So as we're entering December, I have now read the first 5 books in the Mortal Instruments 4 times, and I'm seeing all of these cool people talk about all of these books that sound amazing, and I'm like, you know, I should probably read like something else for once. I did not know up until this point that there was a whole prequel trilogy called The Infernal Devices, like that completely bypassed me. And another series that really stood out to me was The Hunger Games. Now I also have a bit of an interesting story with The Hunger Games, but the quick version is that I kind of avoided it for like many years because I felt that if I read The Hunger Games and like jumped into like the new hot fandom, that I would be like betraying my love for Harry Potter. So I gave myself my own fun little challenge where I wanted to read 11 books by Christmas starting on December 1st. My plan was I would read the entire Hunger Games trilogy. I would reread The Mortal Instruments for the 5th time because I knew I was getting my own box set of the first 5 books for Christmas. So I was like, one more time, like for old time's sake. And then I would finish off by reading the Infernal Devices trilogy. And I was really freaking proud of myself for reading those 11 books by Christmas. It was a big accomplishment for me, and it is really the catalyst for why I started expanding my reading outside of just like Harry Potter and the Mortal Instruments. An interesting fact though, which many of you know, is I did not like the Infernal Devices the first time I read them. I was just so attached to the Mortal Instruments at this point after reading them for 5 times in a row in like 3 months that it just wasn't the Mortal Instruments, and therefore I thought it was bad. I gave each of them like 2 stars each. Like I was really brutal on them. I didn't like any of the characters. I thought it was boring and confusing, and it was just, I was lost for a time. So for Christmas that year, I got my very own box set of the Mortal Instruments series, which was really special to me because although I had read a lot in my youth, like it was mostly library books, so it was really special to have like this new favorite series of mine that was entirely my own. And the other thing I wanted for Christmas that year was a custom bookmark from this website called Hebel Design. So I wanted the quote from Sebastian's bracelet on it, which is, "If I cannot move heaven, I will raise hell," in Latin, and it had this really beautiful charm of a sun with a moon inside of it. Fun fact, just a few short months after I had this beautiful like $15 bookmark that was my pride and joy, I dropped it like in between the slot where my mom's emergency brake is, and it's still there like 7 years later. I don't know how to get it out, but it was very special for the time that I had it. So moving into January of 2014, I had been reading new books and I had been watching a lot of BookTube. And so I had my own YouTube channel that I started when I was 13, and I had kind of fallen out of it a little bit as I got further into high school. But I had all of the filming equipment. I knew how to make videos, how to edit them and upload them. So I was like, I'm watching all of these people talk about these books that I love and I'm entertained by their videos. I feel like I could do this. And so when I joined BookTube, it was much smaller and way more intimate than it is now. But my main intention for starting my channel was I just wanted to talk about books. I didn't have friends or classmates who read like I did, who I could talk about all of these amazing characters and stories, and I just wanted a space where I could do that too, and hopefully I would connect and make other friends who could talk about the same books with me. So the first video I actually ever posted is called Marry Kiss Cliff, and it was a tag where you would pick 3 characters out of a bowl and you would choose one to marry, one to kiss, and one to push off a cliff. But the second video I ever posted was the one that I was really excited to make, and that was my own version of TMI pronunciation problems, where I shared the different ways that I say things from the Shadowhunter Chronicles, and it was super fun, and it's so cringy to look back on now. It's still on my channel, but I just was so excited to have a space where I could be open and share my love of the Mortal Instruments series. So I posted those 2 videos, and the rest is history, and I have been uploading consistently on BookTube and loving every minute of it since. So on April 11th of that year, I had turned 18, which was really exciting because my present for my mom was going to be my very first tattoo. I deliberated for a long time about what tattoo I wanted for my first tattoo, and I decided on getting the Eratzi rune from the Mortal Instruments series on my forearm. And so I decided on the rune for healing because many of you know that throughout my whole life, really, I've dealt with a lot of mental health issues like anorexia and depression. And so I wanted to get the rune for healing in a spot that I would self-harm at, so that I would be able to look down on it and remind myself that, like, I'm always still healing. Like, there's a reason that I'm pushing through and putting in all this work to feel better, and that the healing is never over. It's really special to me, and I look down at it all the time, and I feel so good to have this rune on my body. So in May of 2014, Jamie Campbell Bower, who I didn't describe before, but he plays Jace in the City of Bones movie, super obsessed with him at this time. My heart was just bursting for Jamie Campbell Bower. And he was going to be in New York and playing a pop-up show where he was just going to Union Square Park and was going to play some music, and whoever wanted to come could come. It was totally free. I think I actually might have taken off school that day to do that, but I had taken my boyfriend along and I think one of my other friends, and we went to see Jamie Campbell Bower play music in the park, and it was so freaking exciting. My favorite memory from that day is that Jamie had initially said, like, he's gonna hang out afterwards and we can take photos and hugs and whatnot, but like 100 people showed up at the park, so that wasn't really possible anymore. So he like tried to like sneakily get away, but of course we're a bunch of crazed teenage girls, and I am very proud to have been in a mob of girls who chased Jamie Campbell Bower into his cab. It's a special moment for me. But also in May of 2014, it was the release of City of Heavenly Fire. The final book in the Mortal Instruments series was coming out, and I was so pumped, not just because it was the end, but this was the first book in this series and of the Shadowhunter Chronicles that I was able to be a part of the release for. Like, I was waiting for it to come, and I had pre-ordered my book. There was a really fun, like, City of Heavenly Fire daily photo challenge on Instagram that I participated in, and I did TMI May, which was like such a lovely memory of my channel, where I just posted a bunch of different Mortal Instruments related videos on my channel in preparation for City of Heavenly Fire. I actually made a whole batch of cupcakes just for myself that I had decorated with runes on them, because I was like, this book is going to destroy me and I'm gonna need some comfort junk food in order to feel better. My mom, of course, had become aware of how much these books meant to me and how much they were really getting me through a difficult time. So I had told her point blank, I didn't even ask, I was like, Mom, I am not going to school on the day that City of Heavenly Fire releases. I am staying home and I am reading this book. And she was just like, okay, you're entitled to a mental health day. So very exciting. I actually got my pre-order a day early, so I was able to start it like the day before, and then I still took the day off of school, but I did actually go into school that day. So I wasn't ever actually in a ceramics class in high school, but I knew the ceramics teacher, and she was such a kind lady, and she would let me come to her art room on my off periods or after school and make something out of clay, anything that I wanted, and she would help me through it. So I was making this amazing replica mortal cup that I made entirely myself, and it was the first thing I ever made out of clay, and I'm super proud of it. And so the week that City of Heavenly Fire was releasing, I like had to finish it in order to put it in the kiln on time. So even though I took the day off of school and did not go to any of my classes, I did go into school to work on my replica mortal cup. It's so annoying to look back on this now, but I remember, like, as I was finishing up, I had stopped into my English class that was going on that I was supposed to be in, just to stop in and be like, hey, what's up? I'm taking the day off of school to read today. And my teacher was just like, typical Emma. But then I went home and I finished the book and I ended up reading all of City of Heavenly Fire in a total of like 8 hours. I loved that book. It was a very exciting time. And then just like 2 weeks after that was my very first experience at BookCon. I had found out about BookCon from all of these amazing booktubers that I had been watching and were planning on going, and it was a book convention in New York City, and Cassie freaking Claire was going to be there, so I was like, how could I not go? The tickets were actually my graduation present from my mom, and it was just an amazing experience. My mom and I got up at like 3 a.m. to go into the city and wait online to get tickets to meet Cassie Claire, and I was so determined. I was like, there is no way we are not getting these tickets to meet Cassie. So naturally we did, and I got to meet Cassandra Clare for the very first time, like right after City of Heavenly Fire came out, and it was the most magical experience. So the way BookCon used to work is you could bring books from home, or they would literally just like give you books. If you donated like $1, they would give you a book. I had brought my copy of City of Bones to have Cassie sign, and I gave my mom City of Heavenly Fire because she was also in line. And so Cassie had started signing one of the free books that we give away, and I was like, oh no, like I really wanted her to sign City of Bones. And her, being the sweetest woman ever, was like, oh, did you want me to sign that one? Here, you take this book and I'll sign that one too. But yeah, it was really special. I got to tell her how much her books had meant to me over the last year. I got to show her my tattoo. She was just so sweet and wonderful. We ended up talking for like a solid 4 minutes, which is a lot for a book signing, and the woman actually had to like gently guide me away, but it was amazing and I will treasure that experience forever. Fast forwarding a bit, in May of 2015, I got my second Shadowhunter tattoo, which is actually the same quote that was on that bookmark, which is, if I cannot move heaven, I will raise hell, in Latin. And I love this one so much with this little typewriter font and the placement. It's one of my favorites. And then in October of that year, I got to meet Cassie for the second time. So she was having a signing with Holly Black for the release of, I think it was the second book in the Magisterium series that they had written together. And I got to go, and I was literally so early. I was like 3 hours early and the line had not started yet. But I was super excited for this signing, not only because I got to meet Cassie again and I got to get more books signed, but I was really committed to getting her to write out a tattoo for me. So when I went up to get my book signed, I had brought a little piece of paper and I had asked her, would you please write out "Words have the power to change us" in your handwriting for me so I can get it tattooed, and she did. And this one is definitely one of my all-time favorite tattoos. Like I have 8 tattoos and they're like all my favorites, but this one is super special because Cassie wrote it out specifically for me, and I will have a quote that resonates so deeply with me about my love for books and my love for her books, and it's her quote in her handwriting. And what was also really special about that day is I was one of the first people to get my book signed, but I decided I wanted to hang out for a little bit longer. Like I had met some other fans that I was talking to, and I like really wanted to get a picture with Cassie, like just us together. So I figured there was no harm in just like waiting around until the end to see if she would be willing to take a photo when the room had cleared out. And she did, and that was really exciting. But even more than that is I literally had just wanted to get a picture. Like I wasn't intending on like talking to her more or taking up her time, but we totally stood there and talked for like 20 minutes. We talked about the City of Bones movie and the Dark Artifices series, which was the next one coming out, and how much my mom had loved the books because she started reading them. And it just really solidified that like Cassie is a person who really cares about her fans. And that was really special to me because at this time I was not like emmmabooks, the booktuber who talks about her books all the time. I was literally just another fan in her sea of millions of fans who wanted a moment with her, and she gave me so much respect and kindness, and just she did not have to take the photo with me, let alone talk for me for so long. So it really solidified that I feel Cassie has a really special place in her heart for her fans and does actually care and like want to get to know them. It was just such a special experience to me as an 18-year-old whose entire life was reading in her books, and I will never forget it. And then in December, I got my tattoo done, and it's just going to be on my body forever, and I'm so pleased with it. So moving forward to about February of 2016, the release of Lady Midnight is upon us. And so at this point, I've gained like a bit of a decent following on YouTube for the time, and I had started getting books early from publishers to read, and I was really, really committed to getting an advanced reader copy of Lady Midnight. I had sent like a zillion emails to everyone I could possibly think of, anyone who was at Simon & Schuster. I was like, I am a booktuber and I desperately want to review Lady Midnight. Who can I talk to? And all of them were dead ends. I didn't get any responses from anyone. And so luckily, one of my wonderful BookTube friends had reached out to me and was like, hey, I have a feeling you probably want a copy of Lady Midnight, so this is the person that I got mine from. Why don't you email her? And it led me to my copy of Lady Midnight. I actually have an unboxing for my advanced reader copy of Lady Midnight on my channel because it was a super gorgeous box with lots of goodies inspired by the Dark Artifices. And it was just a very memorable moment for me to be like one of the exclusive special people who get the opportunity to read Cassie's new book before it even comes out. So then, later in 2016, we enter the Shadowhunters TV territory. How do I talk about this? I think it was in 2014 when we had first gotten the news that The Mortal Instruments was going to be adapted into a TV show. Like, the movie didn't really perform all that well. They decided not to make a sequel, and so fans were really let down, thinking that we were never going to see like this whole series on the big screen. But it was like a light in the dark that there was now going to be a TV adaptation. Now, if you watch my videos from before Shadowhunters TV first premiered, I was really excited and hopeful. Like, I literally had a video titled, like, My Hopes and Fears for Shadowhunters. It was mostly when the trailer first dropped and then the pilot was released that I was horribly disappointed. I, as someone who was so deeply connected to the source material of these books, of course wanted a perfect representation of it on screen. I wanted it to be the dialogue and the exact scenes, and like I didn't want anything new from it. And at the end of the day, that's not what Shadowhunters ever intended to be, but that's what I wanted. So I ended up committing to do weekly reviews of each new Shadowhunters episode as it premiered. And looking back on it now, I was incredibly harsh on the show. I became really angry and resentful of everything related to the TV show, from the actors to the writers and producers and special effects designers. And while I was definitely still honest about how I was feeling at that time, I do look back now and I don't always agree with everything I said in that video, but I was filled with a lot of emotion because I was like, this is my chance to see the story that means so much to me perfectly on screen, and I didn't get that. So yeah, I really did not like the first season. I would say at the time I hated the first season of Shadowhunters, and my reviews were gaining a lot of traction, and it made the show fans absolutely despise me. So then season 2 comes around, and despite all of my super negative reviews of the first season, I still wanted to watch it because I did want Shadowhunters to succeed. And I actually did enjoy season 2 more than season 1, and I feel like that's really because like I knew what to expect from Shadowhunters at this point, where I didn't really know that in season 1, but I wasn't like so like unwaveringly opposed to it, that it actually allowed me to find things I really did like about the show. So the difference, in my opinion, between season 1 reviews and season 2 is like night and day for me. I have not actually watched season 3 yet, and like there might even be a season 4, I'm not sure, but I really would like to finish the show at some point because I've invested so much into Shadowhunters at this point. I feel like I have to finish it. And I of course want to share my thoughts in a video with you guys on how the series ended, but ultimately I'm just not interested in watching Shadowhunters right now, so I'm gonna wait until I feel a little bit more motivated to finish the series. Honestly, Shadowhunters TV just feels like a fever dream to me. Like, it definitely happened. We were all there for it, but it just feels so encapsulated into like 2016, 2017, when it was all BookTube was talking about, that I often just forget it exists now. I am clearly so biased because the film was the introduction to the Mortal Instruments series for me. It is the first representation of the story that I ever witnessed. But I stand by my thought that the City of Bones movie is the superior Mortal Instruments adaptation. Moving on back to book content, we have BookCon 2016, which was a delight because I got to meet Cassie for the third time. That day was super funny. So I woke up at 2 a.m. because again, I was like, I am meeting Cassie Clare. I am getting these tickets and nothing is going to stop me. So by like 4:30 a.m., my friend Megan and I are headed to the convention center and I get a call from my friend Elias, who is there, and he's telling me that all of the Cassie Clare tickets are sold out. I'm losing my mind. I am heartbroken. I am like, this is the reason I came to Chicago. And I get there and everyone is still lined up outside. They haven't even started giving out tickets yet, and Elias was just fucking with me. But yes, I got to meet Cassie for the third time, and I got to show her the tattoo she wrote out for me, and she ended up taking a photo of it on her personal phone, and it was just a really, really exciting day. That was the point where I feel that Cassie really started to be like, hey, this is Emma. She is a fan of mine, and that means a lot to me. Then in July of 2016, I had one of my other BookTube friends named Red come to visit me, and she stayed over for a week, and it was a super fun experience. But something very special that came out of it is I did a tour of all of the locations from City of Bones in New York City. So I took this map of Manhattan that has identified like 14 different locations from City of Bones in it, and I kind of matched it up with Google Maps to find out where each of these points would actually be in New York City. And so Red and I spent an entire day going to all of those locations. I've lived in New York my whole life, so the city is very special to me, but it was incredible to just go to all of these different locations and think this is where Jace and Clary and Simon and all of them were running around and fighting demons, and all of these very important scenes happened. We were absolutely dead by the end of the day. We went from Manhattan to Brooklyn to Manhattan to Queens to Brooklyn. It was exhausting, but I'm so happy we did it. It's an amazing video that I really love that's on my channel, and I'll link it below with the rest of all of these Mortal Instruments videos I'm discussing. But it was just so cool to see my city in a whole new light. Then we move into November of 2016, which is when I met Cassie for the fourth time, and I interviewed her for the very first time. I swear to you, I was on my lunch break at work, and I was on Tumblr, and I reblogged something that was reblog and you'll get good news. And I always do that because I'm okay, I either get good news or I don't. It can't hurt to put that into the universe, right? 15 minutes later, I get an email from a person I have never spoken to, who is apparently the events coordinator at the Barnes & Noble where Cassie is going to have a signing. And she literally reached out to me to be like, hey, I know you're a big Shadowhunter fan and you're based in New York. Do you want front row reserved seats and maybe to interview Cassie while she's here? And I'm like, what? So yes, this was for the release of Tales from the Shadowhunter Academy, and I got to interview Cassie for the first time and just ask her all of these burning questions I wanted to and share that with my audience, and it was such an exciting day. Actually, Alberto Rosende from Shadowhunters, who plays Simon, was also there, so I got to meet him very briefly beforehand, and he was one of my favorite actors on Shadowhunters. I swear he was my favorite character, so that was also very exciting. And it was also from that event that Cassie followed me on Twitter, which was so freaking exciting. I remember last year being at BookCon and just freaking out because she liked and retweeted my tweets, and now she's following me on Twitter. And that was really the start of what I consider, at least from my side, to be a very special relationship with Cassie, where I've gotten to know her a little bit more personally than fans get to just by reading her books or meeting her at signings. I've gotten to just casually chat with her and have her share spoilers of her books before they even come out. And what amazes me the most is that Cassie has gone well out of her way to make sure that I get a copy of her new book before it's released, and she's the one to be let me tell my publisher to send it to you. And also when it's oh, we're both going to be at the same event, she's the one to be let's film a video together. It never wears off. It's never not cool or amazing to me. So then in June of 2017 was the next time I met Cassie, and I got to interview her again at BookCon, which was really cool because I had a couple of other BookTube friends that were filming videos with Cassie, so we like all got to go together and we all got to like hang out in a group and chat with her. And I just feel so honored to be someone that Cassie like feels comfortable enough to talk to and hang out with at events and whatnot. And it's really been a huge impact on my life. Oh, terrible thing about that video though, the audio was not recording for our interview. I was using my friend's microphone for the first time because I thought it was going to be better audio, and it just did not record. So thank God I had the sense to record a secondary audio on my phone that I was able to use, and it doesn't sound great, but it was a super fun interview and I loved being able to talk with Cassie. So it was just another really special day for my Shadowhunter love. In October of 2017, I made what might be like the furthest I've driven for a singular book signing before, and that was I went to Massachusetts for the release of another one of the Magisterium books with Cassie and Holly. It all happened very quickly where Cassie and Holly released that they were going to be having a signing in Massachusetts where they lived, and then I found out that I was going to be off from school that day, so I was like, that's it, there's nothing stopping me, we're going. The photo I have from that event with Cassie and Holly is really funny. Cassie's like holding up her finger, and it's because I gave her a paper cut accidentally. Then we have November of 2017, which was Y'all Fest, and this was my second time at Y'all Fest, which is a book festival I love dearly and haven't been to since, so I really hope I get the opportunity to go again in the future when it's safer. But yeah, Cassie and I had decided that we wanted to film again, and I was really excited for this interview because it had not actually been released yet, but she had told me about her adult fantasy series that she is writing called Swordcatcher, and so I was like, what if we do like a Q&A about Swordcatcher? So I ended up being one of the like first people to give you like the early rundown on what Swordcatcher is and what Cassie's plans for it are. We also got to play Rip It or Ship It, which is a game that I brought over to BookTube, and we played it with her characters where like we would pick 2 characters out of all of her series and see if like we would want them to be together or if we would not. And if the BookCon situation where I lost my audio was not enough, we had more problems at Y'all Fest. So Y'all Fest had reserved this restaurant where authors and press could do interviews, and that's where our interview was supposed to be. But because our interview was late and it was after Cassie's last event, the restaurant was opening. So suddenly we couldn't do our interview there and we had nowhere to go. So I go into Blue Bicycle Books, which is the bookstore that is like the hub of all things Y'all Fest, and I explained to them like I have an interview with Cassie and our location got changed, like is there any way we can film in one of your spare rooms? And thankfully the gods at Blue Bicycle Books were more than willing, and it ended up being like the perfect set, and I love that video and it all worked out okay. Oh my god, how did I make it through this whole video and forget about the Dregs Society read-along? Whoa, okay, so in January of 2018, I released a super exciting announcement that I was going to be hosting a year-long readathon for the Shadowhunter Chronicles. I created a Facebook page called the Dregs Society that was kind of like the hub for it, but you could post anything Shadowhunter related on there. And so like every 3 weeks to a month, we had a new Shadowhunter book that we were going to read as a group because our goal was to read 14 books in 1 full year. And then after we finished reading each book, I would have a live show discussion. So on my channel, there are live show discussions for all the Mortal Instruments books, all the Infernal Devices books, and all the Dark Artifices books. And what was really, really special to me about that read-along and all those live shows is that every month I would announce the date and time of the live show, and I would be like, if you are available at this time and you want to be interested in co-hosting and like actually discussing it live with me on YouTube, let me know. And so each month I got to bring in like 4 or 5 new people that I had never met before typically, and we got to just sit and discuss the Shadowhunter Chronicles. Wow, that was such an amazing experience for me. I met some really amazing people through it that I never would have if like I didn't randomly choose them to be in my live show. It allowed us to have like a huge variety of different opinions and discussions on the books. So yeah, not only was it like amazing for me to read the Shadowhunter Chronicles for like the 10th time I think it was at that point, but I really loved the community aspect of that read along. I loved being able to discuss these books with so many other people and discover like new BookTube channels and Bookstagrams and whatnot. It was just all around a super amazing experience that is very integral to my journey as a Shadowhunters fan. So this next event is not like super Shadowhunter related, but I of course feel it is. So it is in May of 2018 when I met Jamie Campbell-Bower, officially met him for the very first time. So I love Jamie dearly. I think he is incredibly talented and a wonderful person. And so as the City of Bones movie faded into oblivion, I have still been very enthusiastically supporting Jamie over the years. And he was in a band called Counterfeit for a couple of years who decided to do a tour in America. So naturally, I jumped on buying the VIP tickets where I would have like a meet and greet with the band, which was super exciting because like I love Counterfeit's music so much, but like also I was about to meet Jamie freaking Campbell-Bower. So I got to meet him and just quickly explain to him that like his portrayal of Jace is like literally the reason that everything in my life has happened for the past 7 years with reading the books and starting BookTube. And he was just so lovely and amazing, and the show was freaking fantastic. In September of 2019, I got to meet Jamie again. Jamie came back to New York with Counterfeit, and I got to see him play again, and it was amazing. I actually had decided to buy some of the Counterfeit merch because I saw Jamie wearing it beforehand, and I was like, oh my god, that's such a cool shirt, I want it. So I took a selfie in it, and I tweeted him. I was like, Jamie, like I bought this to match you, can we please get a twinning selfie after the show? And I think it was like right before the show started, Jamie came up to me and was like, I was so not prepared, oh my god. I was looking at my phone like waiting to see if he answered, and I look up and he's standing in front of me. And he's like, I saw your tweet, you look amazing, we'll definitely get a photo after the show. So he ended up changing for the show, so we weren't matching, but like I still got to see him afterwards and talk to him, and I just can't wait for him to come back again and to see him again and just tell him how much I love him and how much his music and just his everything means to me. Speeding through a couple of the next events here, then in September of that year, I went to Massachusetts to see Cassie and Holly again, which was equally as fun and wonderful. Then December of 2018, which was when Queen of Air Darkness came out, the final book in the Dark Artifices series. So she had another New York signing, and I of course went. I had a friend, Lily, who was interviewing Cassie beforehand, so I got to see her and hang out with her for a little bit. And that was just another wonderful event. I feel like, what are we on? Number 6 or 7 of the Cassie meetings? I think that was 7. In August of 2019, I got to go to London again. I went to London back in 2013 before, like right before actually, I read The Mortal Instruments. I got back like a month before I watched the movie, so I never got to really experience like an Infernal Devices inspired England trip. And I unfortunately did not get to do as much Infernal Devices exploring as I would have wanted to, so I really hope I'm able to go back soon in the future and like actually go to all the places like I did in New York with City of Bones. But I did get to visit Blackfriars Bridge, which is of course a super significant location in the Infernal Devices series, so it was really exciting to be there and like feel like I am there with Jem and Tessa. So then the final major Shadowhunter event that I have thus far is in March of 2020, right before the pandemic hit. I cannot tell you how grateful I am that I got to do this before the world shut down. So one quick thing that I forgot to mention but really wanted to add that happened at the Chain of Gold signing was that I met a woman named Val who is actually the artist for all of the runes in the Shadowhunter Chronicles. Like the woman that designed my tattoo. She's a really good friend of Cassie's, and she was at the event, and it was just like so unexpectedly amazing to talk to her about like her process of creating all these runes and her experiences as an artist. And it was like a moment I'll really treasure that I got to meet Val. March, of course, was the release of Chain of Gold, the first book in the Last Hour series, and Cassie had a launch party in New York again, so I got to go and see her. And that event was really special to me because, you know, at this point, Cassie and I are like friends now. Like, we get to greet each other and hug, and it's really wonderful to see her. So I was just explaining to her that, like, I had already read Chain of Gold and I thought it was amazing, and how she's just grown into such an amazing author over the years. And she said that she thought of me as a bellwether, meaning someone who kind of like inspires others and like leads the flock. And she was like, oh, well, if you enjoy anything of mine, then I know other people are going to as well. And it really made me feel that like she actually values my opinions on her books, which is so much more than I could have ever asked for from my favorite author. You know, I recognize that I've had some really special and amazing opportunities with Cassie over the years, and I'm so grateful for them, and I'll never take advantage of it. But, you know, all I've ever wanted was to read her books and to support her. Like, that's all I ever wanted. And so the fact that she, like, knows who I am and, like, likes filming videos with me and values my opinion, it is so incredibly special to me in a way that I don't think I could ever replicate with anyone else. So that kind of completes the timeline to where we are now, waiting for the release of Chain of Iron. But I have a couple of other things that I just wanted to share that weren't necessarily significant events, but they have just been a part of my Shadowhunter journey. The first are the videos I've created for the biannual Bibliothon inspired by the Shadowhunter Chronicles. So if you did not know, the biannual Bibliothon is a readathon I started with some of my very best BookTube friends back in 2015. And so like every year, twice a year, we would host a week of reading and a week of video challenges. The video challenges for the biannual Bibliothon were always so fun and so elaborate, and even though like looking back on them, like me dressing up in wigs and costumes is a little cringy, I look back on them so fondly. And of course, with the Shadowhunter Chronicles being my favorite book series and the books I know the best, I made a lot of those video challenges based on the books. So I'm trying to think back to some that I had. I had like recreate a scene where I recreated the other 10% scene from City of Bones, which is a favorite of mine. I did a really like funny and kind of cringy one, which was like characters in real life. So I made it so that Jace accidentally portaled into my bedroom. Oh, there was the hero and villain swap where you were supposed to like show what would happen if the hero was the villain and the villain was the hero. So I took a scene from City of Lost Souls and swapped the roles of Jace and Sebastian, and it was so good. I think the first biannual Bibliothon video I ever did for Shadowhunters was the Cake Up breakup, where I recreated a couple's breakup but made their reason for breaking up being that one of them ate the other's last slice of cake. Oh, and who could forget the Sealy Court dance battle that I did like last year? Oh god. Oh, the Shadowhunter Vine compilation where I made vines as inspired by like things that happened in the Mortal Instruments, or took Vine trends and made them related to the Mortal Instruments. And so many more. Like, I've made so many videos over the last couple of years that were skits of me dressing up like Shadowhunter characters and recreating scenes and writing new stories with them. And so those videos, like, looking back on them, other people would find them cringy, and like I do sometimes as well, but I really look back on them fondly because it was an amazing way for me to be creative and think outside the box and just like share my love for Shadowhunters in a new way. Also, collecting books and merch over the years. Wow, I have way too many to share in this video. I'll try and do like a cool little montage of showing you like the different books and merch that I have. But I have so many different editions of Cassie's books. I think we're up to like over 90 copies of Shadowhunter books. Like just Shadowhunter books. And I think like close to 30 of them are just City of Bones. Some people think that's absolutely preposterous, but I don't at all. I love collecting these books. I love getting old editions, out of print editions, special editions. One of my favorite parts of my collection is the amazing amount of international foreign editions of City of Bones and other Shadowhunter books that have been translated into different languages, especially because they have all been sent to me by my followers. Like, you guys are the ones that have built up that part of my collection because it's your home country or your native language, and that is so special to me and goes well beyond even just how much I love these books. I've collected some really cool cards with character art on them and posters. I love my little Will and Magnus plushies. So yeah, this collection is just like my pride and joy. Like, I'm so proud of all of these different editions and signed copies of Cassie's books that I have, and they're each special to me in their own way. So while I may not read every single version of this book that I own, especially the ones in languages that I don't understand, having them and collecting them is a part of my love for this series, and I wouldn't have it any other way. Alrighty, so that really concludes my Shadowhunter journey. From the moment I discovered the books to where we are now, that's like everything. Of course, there's probably more that I can't fit into this video that's already monstrously long, but it was so much fun to sit and chat about these books and what they mean to me and how they have completely shaped my life over the last 7 years. Like, I'm a firm believer that I would not be where I am today or the person I am today without the Shadowhunter Chronicles, and so I'm just so incredibly grateful for them, and it makes me so happy to meet so many other people on the internet that have similar experiences too. So if you've made it thus far, it is time to discuss my international giveaways. So to reiterate, I am hosting 2 giveaways with 2 different prizes, and you can't win both, but you can definitely enter both. And they are going to be international, so you can enter from anywhere in the world and have a chance to win. So the first prize is going to be a set of the Waterstones exclusive editions of Lady Midnight, Lord of Shadows, Queen of Air and Darkness, and the Red Scrolls of Magic. If you have not seen these, they are the gorgeous canvas and foil bound editions of the Dark Artifices series. Each of them has a stamp with Cassie's signature in them, and I believe some of them might have a little bit of extra content. These books can be pretty hard to come by if you don't order them right when they're released, and so my friend Kaylee actually gave them to me because she was moving and didn't really need them, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, I have to do a giveaway for my subscribers who I know will definitely enjoy this gorgeous set of books. And I also have some extra chapter samplers of Queen of Air and Darkness and Chain of Gold that I will be throwing in this package. So that is giveaway number 1, and the winner of giveaway number 2 will receive the 10th anniversary edition of City of Bones, which is also canvas bound, has these gorgeous gold sprayed edges. It has gorgeous portraits of Clary and Jace on the end pages, and it also has this little section of clave files about information about the different characters in the back. They will also get a copy of an illustrated history of notable Shadowhunters and Denizens of Downworld, which is a really fun novelty book for all Shadowhunter fans. They have character portraits of all the different characters in all the Shadowhunter series and a little bit of information about each of them inside. They will also get a copy of the Mortal Instruments coloring book, which has different scenes and whatnot from the Mortal Instruments and some quotes on the one side that you can color in however you like. And then I have some super exclusive artwork for Shadowhunter fans. The first is the scene of Clary and Jace in the greenhouse that is illustrated by Cassandra Jean, and I believe this is from one of the past years at BookCon. And finally, a set of character cards from the Last Hour series. So it has all of the main characters and some information about them on the back, and I have a brand new set for one of you lucky winners here. I'm so excited I have the opportunity to do this giveaway, to thank you all so much for your support on my channel over the years, and just to give back to many of the Shadowhunter fans who constantly give me so much love. All of the necessary guidelines for the giveaway are detailed in the description, but you can enter using the Rafflecopter links also down there, and that's where you can enter, and you can do things like tweeting about the giveaway or sharing about it to gain more entries and better your chances of winning. The giveaway is going to end on this date, gift, and I will be contacting the winners through one of the methods that they provide on Rafflecopter. So good luck to you all. I hope you all have fun with this giveaway, and I really hope the winners enjoy their super special prizes. So that really concludes this video. Thank you all so much for watching, and if you are a Shadowhunters fan like myself, I of course would love to hear even a little bit about your Shadowhunter journey, or if you want to lay the whole thing out for me in the comments, go for it, because the whole reason I started this channel was to connect with other Shadowhunter fans, and it's such a privilege that I get to do so many years later. But that is it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you soon for a new one. Bye!